character set. Well, what if someone did something like that to a slash? Oh, sorry, not slash. Well, slash might be one, but a greater than less than symbol. Let's say we have some kind of cross-site scripting filter that filters for greater than or less than, but it does it on the ASCII versions of it, and then it does the canonicalization afterwards. Would that be one possible way to get around filters? Also, name spoofing. Now, I mentioned this somewhat before about spoofing usernames, and I need to go test this on more systems. For instance, I need to test this on creating Windows user accounts in both local and domain. But I was able to go on and spoof Dairy Kitchen's name by using an odd version of the letter K, kappa, in here. And this Dairy Kitchen looks exactly the same as this Dairy Kitchen, but it's different because this is a different Unicode value. Now, I was able to do that on this particular web app. I think it was IP boards. That's what he was using. Yeah. However, I tried to do the same trick. I tried to impersonate Kevin Mitnick on Twitter. Unfortunately, I got the warning invalid username, alphanumerics only. So I guess people with funky French names are out of luck. And same thing happened to me on Gmail when I tried to impersonate Rick Hayes. Oh well, I tried. But more research needs to be done here. Surely there's some apps out there who have screwed this up and allow you to impersonate usernames. Okay, another cool thing, this one I actually just figured out here recently. Oh, it was the other day, Josh Kelly, one of my co-workers, mentioned something about seeing a talk, I think it might have been actually here, about messing around with Unicode and the right to left nature. Some character sets automatically type left to right instead when you start using them. But to the computer, it still represents them in the same order in which it would be read by a human. So let's say you start typing in Hebrew, you might have characters going out the opposite way from your perspective, like that. But sometimes you also want to make a mixture of, let's say, Hebrew or Arabic characters and Latin characters, so you need a way to say, stop doing that. Go ahead and reverse it the other way when you start typing. So there's actually a Unicode character you can put in there. It's at code point 202E that reverses everything. So for a while, apparently some web browsers would allow you to do something like this. That URL would actually go to IronGeek.com. And actually, if you can't see can you see the preview? Wait a second. Actually, see what happens if I go to it. Come on, do your thing. Oh, don't crap out of me. It opens up IronGeek.com. But what if you would do something really funky, like this? I'm still using that reverse character, but I'm trying to make it look like Microsoft.com. Now, my understanding is that one time this worked in web browsers, though at this point, not so much. And there's a lot more details at this particular URL. Like I said, if anyone wants the slides, just come up to me after the talk and I'll put them on a thumb drive for you. Now, this got me thinking even more, and I think Josh mentioned the other guy did something along these lines, and I thought it was fixed, but it's not so much. What do you see up there as far as the file names are concerned?
Text.batch, text.dbs.
Uh-huh. So basically these all look like text files, and you know what, we messed around a little bit today on the mail system, and even come through the mail looking more or less like the correct name. Though if it's exe, at least Exchange automatically recognized that that's still an exe, I'm not going to let you do it. Because this is just how it's represented to the human eye. So I'm actually, let me give you a demonstration now. I have a VM up. At least I hope I do. Oh, come on. Wake up. What the hell? Okay, this is small, small, small. Let me blow this up some so it's actually going to be viewable. Alright. It's still distorting it somehow or another. Alright, you see how these are all viewed? You see how I have xcod.txt? Or can that be viewed at all? Oh, great. Let me do this one more time. Is that more viewable?
Yeah.
Alright, there's my tab.txt. Looks about right. But it's not an actual text file. My docx, now this will go through a mail system. So if, let's say you know there's a PDF vulnerability out there that's like not many people know about, or one for Microsoft Word, you can in theory send them what looks like a text file, but when they try to open it up, it actually will open up in Word. And we did get that to work. This one, of course, is an exe. All I did was I used a resource exporter on a shell 32, exported out the icon for a text file, and used it for a little exe I generated with AutoIt. VBS is much the same thing, and that's just all these names which I copied and pasted. Now I'll tell you how I generated those in a second. It's not exactly obvious how you go about that, but there's some tools online where you can basically type in, I want this Unicode character here, and the rest of my characters are this, convert, and it'll do it for you. After I did that, I just copied and pasted and used it. Now keep in mind though, while these look right, this is purely representational. And actually this is something that Dave DeSimon said, hey, why don't you check out and see if this works? And I checked it out and he was right. Let me see. Alright, let's say I was to pull up a directory listing. Since this command shell doesn't support Unicode properly, you see everything has its proper real extension there. And that weird Unicode character that does the reversing comes up as a question mark. Alright. And let's go back to the slides. Okay, I got my slides out of order a little bit. Now, if you want to mess around more with Unicode, some useful sites out there. One of them is, you want to look for Unicode security considerations. Unicode.org actually has some stuff for that. Apparently, there is some actual weird buffer overflow issues because depending on how it changes case, the actual number of bytes used can change. So you can feed something in as a certain number of bytes, but then have it and do a check, but then have it switch to like a different case, and it will overfill the buffer. There's also some little oddities in that, so go check out the Unicode security considerations page. If you want that Unicode converted, the way I put those weird reverse symbols in is I just typed it in along with the rest of the text I actually wanted into this guy's resource, and it worked just fine for me. There's also the Unicode character info list on fileformat.info. I used that for finding a bunch of different homoglyphs, which I went ahead and threw into my own homoglyph attack generator, which is available at this incredibly long URL. I always showed you how it was displayed previously. And way more references and way too small that you can ever actually read. That's in there for the people who want to look at the slides later on. But there's two major people I want to mention. One was Jay Oblins. I saw a talk of his at DojoCon 2010 that really inspired me to look into this. And I have his video up there. And I started reading a book called The Tangled Web, A Guide to Securing Modern Web Applications. We started talking about using the slash characters and so forth. And that inspired me to sit down and actually pound this out and test these different browsers and come to the conclusion largely they seem to have the stuff together now. Chrome and IE more so than Firefox. Alright, one quick announcement. I'd like to invite everybody to DerbyCon. This year we're happening September 27th through the 30th. 27th is going to be mostly training day. Also, there's a bunch of other conferences if you ever get a chance to go to. They're a lot of fun. Louisville InfoSec, down of course Louisville, Kentucky. SkyDogCon down in Nashville. HackerCon out in West Virginia. Outer Zone down in Atlanta, which is an awfully long haul for you guys. Freaknik again in Nashville, and NAUTICON, which is right next door in Cleveland. Finally, are there any questions? Yes.
Have you tried? Oh,
I'll get you first. I'll go front to back.
have you tried anything with the control character set, like backspacing?
Not nearly as much as I might like to. I've tried to look a little into control characters, but you're talking like some of the
Like some of the weird ones, like the reverse line feeds, and we could show a list and it actually would reconcatenate itself back together.
not nearly as much as I want to. Like I said, I originally started doing the research for doing phishing attacks, and then found out, oh crap, this is already been taken care of. It was originally part of a class project, and I always said what I was going to do for my class project before I figured out this has pretty much been done. That is something I want to add in the future. Hopefully I'll do like a Unicode security part 2. There's actually a gentleman who's done a lot of Unicode research, and he was developing a paper for Black Hat. I'm trying to find his name in here. C. Weber. He did something with Black Hat. I think his name is Chris Weber. And he has like a preview version of his document. It has all sorts of lists of security vulnerabilities possible in Unicode, but he never actually completed the paper. He didn't have a full copy. But it is something I want to look into. And anybody else plays around with it, let me know, because I'd be interested in seeing those kind of tricks. Yes?
Have you had any more success in trying this in like a Mac where the different languages are a little more readily available than Windows?
Well, actually, I have missed out a little bit Mac. Well, let's take an example of those file names I generated earlier. Where I copied those off to a Mac, it really didn't work out for me at all. Let me actually escape out of this and go into my examples. On the Mac, it automatically showed, is that viewable? Yeah, it automatically showed the odd character as a question mark.
What about
I copied over. Maybe if I did a copy and paste, it would be different. You know what? Actually, let's go open Wicked Names and see what happens if I try to copy and paste one of these. Like, let's take the docx, and let's see if I try to. Oh, you see how this copying is happening? But wait, another thing I want to do is I want to try to figure a way to take my email, edit my signature, put this reversing character in it, so that whoever types after me ends up doing stuff like this, where it types backwards. Actually, it doesn't look backwards there, but let me. Like, for instance, I'm going to type in Adrian. That didn't work right. Whoa. Hold on a second. Hopefully I get this to work. It's jumping to the wrong section. This was working better in Windows.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's doing some oddball stuff because of where the characters is. I think it has to do partly with this editor that I'm using. Jumping around weirdness, and also when you try to copy and paste in here, notice how I'm dragging to the right. At that time it's working. It just causes weirdness when you try to move around. Let me go ahead and file, close that. I don't want to save it. Let me reopen that. I didn't say to save it. Fucking Macintosh.
Hey, I'm
Won't you
going to give you a T40 next.
Okay, I'm trying to copy that exe. The sum total of it is a lot of stuff seems to be hard to pull off on a Macintosh. So maybe it's supposed to support characters better.
User error.
Well, I'm trying to copy just that entire
User
code.
error.
Maybe. Be quiet.
The mouse needs 2 buttons.
That's a big misconception, by the way, all right? You have left click and right click in Macs. You just have to set it up. Jeez.
Okay, now let me try renaming this. See what happens. See, it took out the reversing. Yeah, I haven't messed nearly enough with Unicode and file names on Macintosh. Then again, I really haven't owned a Macintosh until the last. Actually, I guess that's not true. I guess I have had one for about 9 months. I just haven't got around to actually playing around with it.
I was also kind of curious on how, say, using the mail
Oh,
Had the characters.
I did try. Well, I tried to show some of those, but unfortunately, it didn't come up real well up there. Keep text. All right, let me actually bring up some of that. Let me see. I said this was originally developed as a paper for a class. Actually, you know what? Let's switch back to Windows. All right, I'm gonna go to my class folder. Because while I was developing the paper, I actually made the screenshots. So this might be a little bit better. Let me actually bring up Twitter. I screwed up my slide on Twitter. This is what it actually came up looking like. See how everything became shortened, but if you actually were able to mouse over those, you'd see the PunyCode version. So like I said, it was all jacked up in Twitter. But as far as mail clients, the only ones I've really messed with were Gmail. And that came out looking something like, it's not dragging real well, something like this, where it was pretty obvious that the URLs weren't right. For instance, it did, because it's really G, it did get the entire URL. It put these as two separate URLs. IUCU.org, it did see the I as an actual part of the URL and so forth. So that's the way it would have windowed in Gmail. Now, Outlook, a little bit different. Let's see. Outlook, though, still a little jacked up. Is that doable enough? Now, let's go with this. That Google guy came out just fine. The Omega.com came out fine. But once again, the IUCU.org got funky because it didn't get the Cyrillic I, and it rendered both of these as two separate URLs because that slash wasn't a standard slash. And also, in the case of Outlook, you got the little pink phishing warning. Now, I didn't test out like Hotmail or Yahoo Mail and all that. I'm guessing they've probably, because of phishing being so benevolent, done something about it. I think what we're really going to find more interesting results is in other like third-party little weirdo web applications that people may not have done as much security auditing on, or may not have considered the ramifications of Unicode. Coming down cold. Yes.
What did you use to generate the file names? Did you say?
There was this website. Let me switch over to it.
There's actually a built-in tool on Windows.
There is a character mapper, but that's a pain to use and copy and paste each thing.
Yeah.
And that's one reason I came up with the homograph attack generator, so I can more quickly generate those kind of things. But for those characters, and let me switch back to the Mac for that, because I have the URL available in here someplace for me to just grab. Oh yeah, Unicode converter. And let me go find that character again. All right.
You leave those files like just a regular file, move them around and do everything else, right?
Right. In Windows, no problem. 22E. Okay, so let me go back into Firefox and let me go to this particular website. And let me go ahead and generate something. Like, let's say I want to do U dot plus 22E, and then I can type in something else to go along with it that I want reversed. So let's say A won't work because it may see the A as a hexadecimal number. So let's try IronGeek.com. Now if I go ahead and do a convert, it automatically places that hex character or that Unicode character in there for me, and I can just copy and paste. Alright, this is that reverse typing I was trying to show off earlier, because I want to figure out a way to put this in the mail signature to mess with people. That's me hitting delete on a Macintosh, which should be going the opposite way, which is really messing with my head. So I'm going to try typing Adrian right now. And notice how it all came in backwards. If I can figure out a way to put that in my signature, I could totally mess with people. And that's the point of life, isn't it? But that's basically how I was generating those file names. Then I copied and pasted and right-clicked and renamed.
You pasted that in the notepad, it just showed up as normal.
Yeah. It showed up as reverse, you know. If I was actually looking at a hex editor, you'd still see it left or right. Because all that Unicode character does is show whatever's rendering and says, hey, reverse everything.
Question sheet.
I could also probably come up with a real quick AutoIt script to automatically rename files to have that Unicode reverse character in it. Any other questions? Well, then I will vacate the podium. You all have a good day.